going to wait for everyone to join before I get started. All right, we're just going to wait a few more minutes for some viewers to join. I have some patients who will be joining today, some coworkers. Today's session is going to be about common hearing issues and, most importantly, common solutions that I offer and the audiologists at our offices offer to our patients, because we're all more alike than we are different, and that does apply to hearing loss as well. So a lot of the issues that my patients describe have been described from another patient that came in right before them or will come in right after them. So we're going to talk a lot about the top few that I see most often with or without hearing needs, and how we can go about trying to resolve those issues as best as we can with hearing needs, different assistive listening devices, communication strategies. So this is going to be an interactive session today. I'm going to be talking a lot, which I love to do, but I really do like to hear from you all. In my previous Facebook Live sessions, I have, showed a lot of technology and visuals, but this is more of a discussion, I hope. And if not, I do have some patients who have wanted me to talk about a few things, so I'm going to focus on that. So I'm Dr. Jessica Woodson, and I am currently at the Upper East Side location of Audio Help Hearing Centers. We are located on 86th and Park Avenue, 1036 Park Avenue to be exact. And Audio Help Hearing Centers has several locations. We have 3 in Manhattan, 1 in the Upper East Side, 1 in the Columbus Circle area, and 1 downtown in Chelsea Village area. And we also have a location in Scarsdale as well as Stamford, Connecticut. So you've been seeing me monthly on these Facebook Live videos, but our company is made of a bunch of great audiologists from all different backgrounds, with different experiences, and they're all really great. So come see us, come see any one of us. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about the most common complaints, the most common hearing issue that I get from my patients, mostly before they come in with hearing needs, but sometimes after. And to be honest, I get those complaints even for people that have a mild hearing loss or a slight hearing loss, who aren't hearing need candidates, or even somebody like me who has normal hearing and still has this issue because I live in New York City and it is very noisy. So you may be guessing what I'm already about to say, and the most common hearing need issue or hearing issue that patients have reported, from my experience, has been having a conversation in a restaurant or an otherwise noisy environment. Whether that be a large gathering, a large group, parties, bar, larger groups. So understanding speech and noise is a big issue for patients with a hearing loss, without a hearing loss, and definitely without hearing needs, but sometimes with hearing needs. So we're going to go over a few solutions today that I offer my patients. Some may be very simple, that you're you may have not thought about, and you're like, wow, that's actually a good point. And others are a little bit more involved and require technology and working with your audiologist to program your devices accordingly. So feel free to ask any questions, any comments in the comment section below, and I will try to look at that periodically. So, having a conversation in a restaurant in noisy environments, understanding speech and noise. What's one solution that I think is quite simple that now is actually getting a little bit more easier to do with COVID in New York City at least, picking a quiet restaurant. Okay, so maybe before the pandemic that was a little bit more difficult because of the capacity of restaurants and their small space but occupying with a lot of people. But now it's becoming a little bit more, more of the norm to have less people going to restaurants, which we should take advantage of, and selecting a restaurant that's a little bit more quieter. Okay, so you want to select a restaurant with a carpet as opposed to wood floors, with heavy drapes, with lower ceilings instead of higher ceilings, and usually a noisy kitchen, that's not viewable to others is ideal. So a lot of the modern restaurants now have, restaurants that have kitchens that you can see them, and it's usually very noisy in there. And while that's great, it doesn't really help with hearing in that noise. So all of these, selecting a quieter restaurant with carpeting, heavy drapes, low ceilings, a noisy kitchen that's not viewable to others, they cut down on the echo effect of very reverberant rooms. So if you can have a choice in it, try to choose wisely. COVID-friendly dividers, if you've seen that at the restaurants, are actually very helpful because they allow for more privacy with the group that you're in, and less noise from other tables. So that's also been very helpful. And something that's, I do pretty often now when I go out with my grandparents and my parents who may be a little bit more hard of hearing than I am, I check the local restaurant reviews, and I don't mean just for the food, but many places are now implementing noise ratings in the reviews along with lighting. So they'll talk about the lighting and the noise. So bright lighting obviously helps with a lot of nonverbal cues, lip reading, just seeing somebody's face, their mannerisms. That's going to be very helpful. So checking the local restaurant reviews before going is usually a good idea. So one solution, picking a quiet restaurant. Okay, so sometimes that's not possible. But once you do pick where you're going, whether it be noisy or quieter, I would recommend scheduling your outing after the lunch rush or before the dinner rush. So there's fewer people, there's less noise. It's a very simple solution, but it's going to be helpful. So just a little input there. But say you can't pick a quiet restaurant. Say you don't have the flexibility of deciding when you're going to go because it's for somebody else's event and you have no say in that. If you are a hearing aid wearer, I would check your hearing aids before you go to the outing. And I don't mean a minute before, 5 minutes before. I don't even mean an hour before. I mean a week before. I mean technically weeks and months before. You should be using your hearing aids daily so that when the time comes where you most need them in a restaurant that's noisy, they can work for you and you are confident in working with them. So most hearing aids with disposable batteries will alert you when your battery is close to being drained. So be sure to carry a spare or two with you at all times. This will ensure that you're never disconnected from the communication grid due to a power outage, let's say, but also that the hearing aids don't die when you are in the middle of a conversation. Okay? If you have rechargeable batteries, which a lot of patients are now transitioning to, where you don't have to change the battery and fumble over in the restaurant changing it, it is important that you do remember to change your wax filters if needed beforehand, especially if you're someone who hasn't worn those hearing aids in a while and the last time you did, you put them in your ears and you hadn't cleaned them. So always remember fresh batteries, new wax filters before going to the restaurant. So get in the habit, though, of wearing the hearing aids daily. Not just when you're planning to go to a restaurant, because your brain needs time to adjust to them in all environments, so that they can work the best for you and for your brain in the environment that you expect them to deliver. Okay? Somebody with, a hurt knee is not going to expect to run a marathon tomorrow without physical therapy prior. It's the same thing when it comes to your hearing aids. We don't hear with our ears, we hear with our brain. And our brain has an auditory nerve. It's a muscle just like any other muscle of the body, and we need to activate that routinely in order for best outcomes. So constant hearing aid use is going to be ideal, rather than I'm just going to wear the hearing aids once every quarter when I go to a restaurant, or once a month. Checking your hearing aids before your outing is helpful, and if you want to schedule an appointment with us, with your audiologist, before coming in to make sure that everything's in place, I would recommend asking your audiologist, if you have not already, to activate a restaurant or a party program. Most of the time we do this on the hearing aids, so patients can use this feature when they're at a restaurant or a party or a large social gathering, any noisy environment. But the advantage of this program is that it usually has front directional microphones, so that what's behind you and what's to the sides of you is going to be reduced in terms of volume and noise, rather than what's in front of you that's going to be enhanced. So typically the person's speaking to you. So in these programs, there's a bit more of an aggressive noise reduction algorithm, which is very helpful. So if you don't have that in your hearing aids, come into our office, ask us about it the next time that you're in, because most hearing aids, you can change that, whether it be a button on the hearing aid, whether that be a remote control that comes with the hearing aid, whether that be an iPhone. So we talked a lot about the assistive devices in conjunction with hearing aids the last couple of Facebook Lives, but those are very helpful, and sometimes not necessary. Just the hearing aids themselves will be able to automatically adapt in these programs. So discuss it with your audiologist, what is appropriate for you, your hearing loss, your lifestyle, and your hearing aids. Okay, so something that you can choose, say if you can't choose a quiet restaurant, or you can select, what time of day you're going, but maybe when you go in, if you're comfortable with talking to your group, you can mention that you want to sit appropriately. So whenever I go to a restaurant with somebody who is hard of hearing, or whenever my patients ask me what they should be telling their family members and their friends, I usually recommend having them sit in a booth as opposed to a table. So the high backs of the booths will block some of the environmental sounds that can drown out your conversation. In addition, booth seating is typically made of softer material that can dampen the noise. So booths over tables, if you can choose. Another recommendation would be to sit along the perimeter of the room. Okay, have you ever wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with someone at a large social gathering? Maybe it's private and you therefore move to a quieter corner to talk. Well, this is the same concept. This principle applies in a restaurant. So seating along the perimeter or the wall of the dining area is naturally quieter. In that position, the restaurant sounds aren't coming from all the sides. And any of these things that I'm going over today, if any of these, solutions, if you want them, I can email them to you. My email is jwoodson@audiohelp.org. That's jwoodson @audiohelp, AUDIOHELP.org. And I'd be more than happy to email you a list of solutions. Hopefully the complaint list and the hearing issue list has just as many solutions. But I'd be more than happy to get that to you, so please shoot me an email if you want that. Another important recommendation that I make is sitting facing the speaker head-on with your back to the noise. So remember I was talking about those front directional microphones when you're in the restaurant or the party program, or even just most hearing aids in general that have omnidirectional microphones, meaning it picks up everything. It will fine-tuned based on who's talking in it. And it usually is guessing that you're talking to somebody who's in front of you. So even for people with normal hearing in noisy environments is partly based on, reading visual cues from lip reading. So the clearer you can see the main speaker's face, the better. So sit facing the speaker head on. And if you're wearing hearing aids, sitting with your back to the noise, so the restaurant noise, the room noise is behind you, it's helpful because of those directional microphones that I mentioned. They'll just assume that you'll be facing the speakers that you most want to hear. So don't expect, realistic expectations. Don't expect to hear the person at the end of the table in a loud, noisy restaurant. Even the best hearing aids in the world are not really going to allow at a 15-person table for you to hear somebody all the way at the end, unless you really are facing that person, or you use an assistive device, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So, the system that you can use is called a remote microphone. So this is one example, and I've mentioned this in previous Facebook Lives, and I will continue mentioning it because it's a great tool. This is a remote microphone, and this is one manufacturer that makes it, but all manufacturers have this. So they come in different sizes, but they're typically, very small. They could fit, in your pocket right here. Okay? So if you want to kind of put it there, you can. But at a restaurant or a table, some people will put it on the table so that it's actually going to be picking up the people who are talking around it a little bit more direct, and then it will go directly to your hearing aids. Okay, so that's called a remote microphone. And it provides emphasis to the sounds and the voices that's closest to the microphone and reduces the sounds that are furthest away from it. And, it's even more helpful to have the person who you're talking to sit with their back to a wall. So their voice is the only sound coming from in front of you for the directional mics to emphasize. So this assistive device is just a small FM transmitter microphone that's used by the speaker. So if I'm the speaker, I'm the one with the hearing loss. I place it in the center of the restaurant table, okay? Or I can place it on the person that I want to be speaking. If you feel comfortable doing that, if you're one-on-one with your spouse or a friend and they want to put it on them, then their mouth is closest to that microphone, and the other person, it will go directly to their hearing aids. You don't put it on yourself, okay? The receiver will then transmit the sound directly to your hearing aid, either by direct audio inputs or by a looped cord around your neck, or wireless. Most of them are now wireless, which is great. So definitely something to consider. You can purchase them along with your hearing aids. So it's something I really recommend to patients who have this issue. An app on your phone could also possibly be utilized as an assisted listening device. A lot of them made for iPhone or made for Android hearing aids will have that. So, yeah. Let's keep going. And finally, for this this problem of hearing and noise, if you struggle with hearing in restaurants and in other settings, but you don't wear hearing aids or you've never had your hearing tested, it may be time to see a hearing healthcare professional. So if you're listening to this and questioning or asking yourself, or kind of noticing yourself in a lot of these complaints and appreciate these solutions, maybe it is time to go get a hearing test, see if you have any issues hearing, and see if hearing aids, assistive devices could help. Okay, so please feel free to come in. Just going to take a look at the comment section. If anybody has anything that they want to ask, feel free to ask away. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So somebody actually mentioned that they have problems hearing the television. That's another big thing. Okay, so there's a long list of issues, restaurants, TV, on the phone, that people are saying, and I'm going to try to get to all of them, but I do want to emphasize hearing and using the TV. I don't want this to be too long because I know how I hate being lectured at. So I will go over hearing with a TV and some solutions for that. So when you're struggling to hear the television, your first thing, you instinctively reach for the remote control, you turn up the volume, okay? I actually recommend turning the volume back down and then turning your hearing aids up a bit, because your family, your neighbors, everyone's complaining that this loud TV volume is hurting their ears, okay? And even though you still can't hear clearly because the volume's increased, and that doesn't always mean clearer, louder doesn't always mean clearer, sometimes it means distorted. The high volume is probably hurting your ears too, and not to mention it's distorting the speech. So hearing through the hearing aids that are fine-tuned for your hearing loss and meant to be listened to is a much better idea than increasing the volume of a TV. Okay, even at a louder volume, it's the best thing to do because they have an MPO, they have a max power output, so it's never going to go past a certain point that's going to damage your hearing any further. Okay, but if you're still having difficulties with the TV, even with your hearing aids, you could do a few things. Just like the restaurant or party program can be added, a TV program can be added on the hearing aids. Okay, so that's specific to the frequencies of a television and the frequencies of your hearing aid. Another thing, a TV connector can be connected to your television. Okay, so I have a few right here. Different manufacturers, what they look like, very small. Okay. So I have a few people asking questions, and I will answer in just a moment. These TV connectors are very small from different manufacturers. Okay, they're pretty much like this. This one's the size of my palm. All right, and this one could be the size of my palm. It's just a weird, it's a triangular shape. And they connect to your television. There's just one or two cords, and most of them are now wireless, so that once you set it up, every time you go to the TV in that area, they will automatically connect to your hearing aids. And now you're not listening to the television, you're listening to the television through your hearing aids, which are programmed specifically for your unique hearing loss. Not to mention, other people around you are not hearing any different. So they're not hearing it very loud and clear like you are through your hearing aids. Ironically, they may say, I need to make the TV a little bit louder because you don't have to make it so loud anymore. So it's definitely beneficial to ask your audiologist, if you have not already, about a TV programmer, an assistive device that can be programmed with the hearing aids. They're very simple to use. So I have a few general questions about hearing aids, which I'll get to once I just give a few more solutions to hearing with TV. So we have the TV connector, assistive device, a TV program, raising the volume on your hearing aids, not the TV. You can also use a remote or an iPhone app for volume control or other fine-tuning adjustments. If you don't have a smartphone, we can provide you with a remote control. And if you don't have hearing aids, or you don't want to wear your hearing aids while you're watching TV for some reason, other assistive listening devices that you can purchase would be TV ears or other headsets. Bose has good headsets if you want to wear over-the-ear headsets. You can get a sound bar. Even I have difficulties hearing certain channels and shows, especially if they have accents, and I have normal hearing. So this is because most televisions have speakers on the back of the TV, which is counterintuitive because your TV is usually up on a wall or on a TV stand, so the speakers are facing the wrong way. So headsets will help, additional speakers will help, but most importantly, fine-tuned hearing aids to your hearing loss, in addition to a programmer that connects to the hearing aids, is going to be solid choice. And lastly, use subtitles. Okay, you can use them in isolation. You can use them in addition to everything I recommended above. But most TVs have closed captioning settings to provide subtitles for every program, really. You can look for the closed caption button on your TV remote to switch on the subtitles, or you can find the closed captioning settings in the TV menu. So those were two big complaints, big common hearing aid issues, hearing in noise and hearing with the TV. So I hope I was able to provide you some good advice. This is what I'm really going over with a lot of my patients every day. So you're not alone in this, and there's solutions to help. So I had a few people asking just general questions. I have Martin Diamond. Hello, Martin Diamond. Recommendations for keeping chronic earwax problems to a minimum. Well, first and foremost, no Q-tips. You probably have heard this from me before if you've been in my office, but Q-tips, for the most part, although may feel, good and may feel and look like you're getting the wax out of your ear, for the most part, you're just pushing it in further. They're more pushers, they're not pullers. So although you may find that you see a little bit of earwax on the end of a Q-tip, it's likely causing the earwax that's already in your ear to be pushed in deeper. And for somebody who wears hearing aids and you put something in your ear every day, you're pushing it in deeper. So that actually long term will lead to impacted wax, which is why we recommend every 6 months, 4 to 6 months, coming in for a checkup so we can check to see if you have wax that's impacted and needs to be removed, or annually, depending on how waxy your ears are. So going to a professional to remove that wax would be ideal. If we find that your earwax is very impacted and it's hard to remove, we will recommend over-the-counter Debrox or Debrox. It's a solution that some patients think that it will remove the wax, which it partially does, but it more so breaks up the wax so it gets it a little bit less hard so that it can fall on its own. But it's important to follow up with an audiologist who can actually see in your ear and make sure that the wax is falling out and not the other way in. So stay away from Q-tips, stay away from anything that you're pushing in your ear that deeply, and if you are going to use Q-tips, just use them carefully. I've seen some horror stories, so kind of use them on the outer ear more so than pushing them deep in. But if it's chronic, coming in every few months is best so we can flush it out. And then maybe getting a hearing aid that has a good wax filter system and stacking up on some wax filters, so you may have to be changing it a bit more often. With that being said, wax is not a bad thing, okay? It's meant to be there. They're like eyelashes for your eyes. They are protection. They keep out insects. They keep out, all the debris. They keep out the bad stuff, and they moisturize your ear. So it's good. It's supposed to be there a little bit. So when you're pushing that wax in further and it's impacted, that's when it becomes a problem. Noel Hecht, Mr. Hecht, hello, Mr. Hecht. So he says the new hearing aids that he got, so he's been a patient of mine for many years. He's now just purchased new ones. He's on his second set of hearing aids because he's been with me for a while now, and he really enjoyed the upgrade to the system as he's getting more tech savvy. He says that he sometimes gets a right or a left signal, I'm assuming he means, and as he's wearing them, it's nothing to do with the insulation of the battery. Okay. And somebody already responded to him. Okay, that sounds like something your audiologist needs to quickly modify in the office. Would you like me to find a time to get that done? Very prompt. I'll reach out to you, Mr. Hecht. It's probably because when you close the battery door, your hearing aid, and this is not for everyone, but his hearing aid may say right ready or left ready. And if you put it on and in your ear soon enough, you'll hear that. Sometimes you don't because you've closed the battery door and it takes you a while to put the hearing aid up to your ear. So it may not necessarily be a bad thing, but if it's constantly saying that, it could be a button that you're pressing. So come on in and we can resolve that. I'll take a listen. Okay, that's all for today. I usually don't want to go over 30 minutes because I know everybody has lunch to eat and I have patients to get back to, and you're probably tired of hearing me, but not too tired to listen next month. We are going to be going over a new topic, and I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be yet, but I've had some patients ask for me to review some things, so I'll see what I want to talk about or what my patients request the most. But just know that although this event is virtual, I am here in the office 5 days a week. I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to listen. Make an appointment, come see me, and I can hopefully resolve your hearing issues. And this Facebook Live event and all others that I've ever recorded and will record will be saved and posted to our page for your pleasure and your education. So please, if you can't tune in real time, just take a look on our Facebook page and you could find us there. Tell your friends, tell your family about us. We really are a great community comprised of some really great professionals that work here, and we're just trying to help you all hear better and ultimately change your lives for the good. Okay, so let us know. I'm Dr. Jessica Woodson. Thank you for tuning in to our Facebook Live, and please reach out if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye now.